The House comes to questions for oral answer. Question number 1, in the name of Darroch Ball.
Question of Social Development. Does she agree with the Minister of Finance when he said of the delivery of social services, quote, "There is no evidence at all that contracting out, as the member calls it, will reduce service provision," end quote.
Mr. Speaker.
Honourable Anne Tolley.
Yes.
Supplementary.
Supplementary question, Darroch Ball.
To the Minister of Social Development, in her government statement indicating a shift in social service provision to a voucher system, is the Minister aware that a 2009 evaluation on a voucher system in Australia, Netherlands and the USA found that quality and supply to rural and provincial communities was reduced significantly, aligning with the concerns in the recent Productivity Commission's report? If so, how is she going to address this?
The Honourable Anne Tolley.
Mr. Speaker, I've made no such statement.
Supplementary question, Darroch Ball.
Point of order, sir.
Point of order, Darroch Ball.
The question was in her government statement.
Order. I'm going to ask the member to repeat the question. The question, as I understood it, was more whether the minister was aware of something. It is difficult to hear. The mics are not working. So I invite the member to ask his question again.
Thank you, sir. To the Minister, in her government's statements indicating a shift in social service provision to a voucher system, is the Minister aware that a 2009 evaluation on a voucher system in Australia, the Netherlands and the USA found that quality and supply to rural and provincial communities was reduced significantly, aligning with concerns in the recent Productivity Commission's report? If so, how is she going to address this?
Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Anne Tolley.
The government has made no such statements.
Supplementary question, Darroch Ball.
Supplementary, sir. Is the Minister aware that under her government's current investment approach for the delivery of social services, that amongst the regular flow of regional closures, including services to Veteran Affairs New Zealand and youth services provided by Salvation Army, which have shut down in Kaikoui, Matamata, Wairoa, Waipukurau, Cambridge, Nguruawahia and Blenheim?
Honourable Anne Tolley.
Mr. Speaker, this government has made no decisions on an investment strategy.
Supplementary question, Darroch Ball.
How can she justify letting Relationship Services Aotearoa close their doors on 7,000 clients operating under her government's failing investment approach to social services, now leaving a huge gap in domestic violence expertise and working with Maori whānau expertise, with nothing to replace them?
Honourable Anne Tolley.
Mr. Speaker, none of those assertions are correct. This government has worked, MSD has worked very hard with Relationships Aotearoa over a number of years. And in fact, the figures I produced in this House last week showed that MSD funding had in fact increased by more than a CPI adjustment. However, no government, whatever the colour, can underwrite an organisation that is not financially viable with taxpayers' money. Unfortunately, Relationships Aotearoa are not solvent. Moreover, they were not actually delivering the services they were paid for. They made the decision to close. This government is working with a number of service providers to make sure that those clients of Relationships Aotearoa are well looked after.
Supplementary question, Darroch Ball.
Can she reassure New Zealanders in our regions that social service provision will not continue to decrease, with providers shutting down under her government's investment approach, or under threat of decreased supply and quality by the new voucher system? And how will she replace the vital services already lost?
Honourable Anne Tolley.
Mr. Speaker, what I can say from this government is that we are absolutely determined to make sure that every dollar of taxpayers' money that is invested in our communities actually gets some results. That's what we want. We want to change people's lives for the better, and we want to use that $313 million that MSD alone spends in our communities supporting the social sector to make a difference in people's lives.
Question number 2.